superhero. So this is episode 3 of Stranger Things season 4. So we get right into it. Like this, there's not a lot of action in this actual episode, but this is a building episode, so we're really building the tension and what's going to be coming in the next couple of episodes. So without the action, this was actually a great episode. So because you can see what's coming, and it's like really suspenseful when you're like, all right, here we go. But we're presented with the doctor and our obviously chief of security helicopters in, and they have the little meeting, so we get a little bit more background information on 11. So 11 was actually being trained to be an assassin, which makes sense. If you have like all sorts of different powers, you'd be a pretty good assassin. Like imagine if you could just walk in and start throwing people off buildings, or like making them float in the air, all sorts of different things. Like it'd be a very handy asset, I would assume. But they thought 11 had actually died or had gone missing. So obviously old mate has now got some rumours that she may possibly be alive, which we all know well and good that she is. After that little background information, it was really nice. We're back into the fray, where we actually get to see the ramifications of 11 hitting the girl that really deserved it, like the female Joffrey in this scenario. But we can see that obviously 11 hasn't been able to deal with her emotions very well, so she does feel bad obviously for hitting. But dinner table, we've actually got Joyce, who's actually hiding a little bit of information from everybody, and everyone's sort of dropping little hints. Like, I don't know what the friend is doing. Like, is he just a comic relief character? Like, he just pops up and he's just does not read a situation or whatever. Like, I don't understand where he's going to come into it. Like, is it just you need another comic relief because obviously the gang has split, and you obviously need a new person who's going to make the atmosphere a little bit lighter for the crew. But he starts dropping a couple little bits of information, which Joyce is obviously wrapped up in her own thing, and she announces that she's going to go on a trip, and obviously that is to get Hopper out. And that's a really cool part where Hopper actually is doing his like prison camp thing, and he's like got an inside agent, so one of the guards is actually helping him because he's been bribed. And seeing how far Hopper would go, like he actually gets one of the inmates, like trades him food for him to like destroy his ankle so he can slip off one of the chains, and we get to see him do like some push-ups, which I'm assuming if his foot's like dislocated and stuff, it's going to be a really hard slog for him to actually run out. Like, he doesn't escape this episode, but we'll get to see what happens with him as well. 11 does get arrested, which causes a little bit of conflict for the crew, because obviously Mum's gone, she's on a plane, and they can't actually get contact with 11. But the old boys in blues all of a sudden like pull up as she's being transported away, which turns out to be the doctor, and he's like, "Hey kiddo," which was cool. But as he's talking with 11, like he drops kiddo way too many times in the actual conversation. Like once was okay, like you've established you've got a connection, but it doesn't need to be like every second sentence. But other than that, he's like explaining about how obviously there's a new big bad, and they need a new way for 11 to get her powers back, and they've got a new sort of training or method for her to get her powers, which is obviously going to happen, where she has to make that emotional, big choice in terms of not seeing her friends and family again and getting her powers to be able to keep them safe in the long run. So, good ethical dilemma for her, which we sort of know what she's going to do, because she's going to have to get her powers back to save 11. All of a sudden saying no, will that big bad run around? But let's see what her powers are going to be, bigger and stronger. What I didn't like about this episode, I felt like Nancy is more Scooby Gang, so they're always just out to find the mission. Like it's just a dog with a bone. She's there, she has to find it. Where they're in the library, and conveniently they stumble onto our like old newspaper. They cover the different sort of X-Filey news, where all of a sudden about the third or fourth swipe through, they actually find the house, and they get to work out what's going on with the big bad and where the old clinical in Salem sort of came along. And then we've got the other the young Scooby gang, so they've broken into the school. Like, surely they've got alarms or something, but they just seem to be able to break into anywhere they want in terms of like the amount of times they've broken into a school. Like, surely the school's got alarms or something, or that would just be too hard to write around. But whatever, like, they're in, they've found a file, and obviously the old counsellor has been keeping a few notes on Max, and Max is probably the next target because all of a sudden she's showing the symptoms and you can hear the voice coming in, and she's able to see the clock. So I'm assuming that's going to cause a little bit of a tense situation for the gang when one of their own's obviously going to be in peril again. While this is all going on, obviously the basketball team and Lucas they're on the hunt for old Eddie, because they believe the main basketball captain believes that Eddie was the actual killer of his girlfriend, of Missy. And like, I understand what they're doing, and seeing that Lucas is being pulled between two, so he's either got to decide between being a jock or going back to his original friends. So it is nice to see that part, but we probably didn't need the basketball team chasing him. Like, we've already got enough things going on. But I'm assuming that's going to come to an end pretty soon, probably the next episode or so, because there's so much all coming back, and everyone's probably going to come back to the one place to deal with the big bad. So I did enjoy this episode, even though there wasn't a lot of action. We are building, so you can't always have the old pacing. So like season 3 had the pace throughout, and there was always action. Where season 2 all we had was very slow pace and building, where this seems like it's got a nice mesh together, which is much better. And yeah, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and you know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.